Posted by you/Joeym 2009. Serious, what is the scariest thing to happen to you when you've been home alone? Someone tried to break into my neighbor's house while I was babysitting their kids. I was 15 and I used to babysit for my neighbors down the block. They had a really nice house, 3 floors with a built-in garage under the house, that connected to the basement. It was the family's most used entrance of the house and they rarely locked the basement door as long as the garage was closed. They also had the type of security system where anytime a door opens you heard beep beep beep. After the parents left one night I was putting the kids to bed and I heard the beep beep beep. I yelled out, thinking it was the parents coming back for something, but no one answered. The system on the wall kept reading basement door open. I was freaked out, so I called my dad and asked him to come by since he was only a few houses away. When he arrived, he told me to stay in the kitchen while he checked the house, but before he could, we heard the beep 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 again and then the garage door opened. When we ran to the window to see if the parents were pulling into the driveway, they weren't. Instead, someone in a hoodie was running out of the garage door and into the woods behind the house. My dad ended up calling the cops. I'm still creeped out by it. My girlfriend and I both travel a lot for work, pre-COVID, so it's not unusual for only one of us to be home on any given week. Last fall she was in San Francisco and I was home alone for a few days. We live in an apartment on the top floor of a building. Above us is a roof with a deck available to everyone. Middle of the night I get up to use the bathroom and on the walk back to bed I look over to the study. There's a sliding door in the study leading to a balcony. I immediately stop dead in my tracks. I see the outline of a person standing on my balcony, facing me. I run over, hit the lights, grab a knife from the knife block and start dialing 911. The person is a kid, no more than 16. He sees me hit the lights, grab a knife and my phone, and he immediately grabs the railing on my balcony and flings himself over. I run over, assuming I just watched someone kill themselves, only to see him safe and sound on the balcony below me. He then hurtles off that balcony. He's jumping from floor to floor. He hits the parking lot in the back of our building safely and then sprints off. Cops finally come and break up a party on the roof. Turns out he was just a drunk friend of someone on the second floor and got dared to do it. Also, shout out to my dog for being asleep 15 feet from the balcony and not doing anything. I was actually at a friend's house when her parents weren't home. We were maybe 10. It was her, my sister, her sisters and me. We decided to go swimming. There had been a rash of burglaries lately, but mostly garages being broke into. Anyway, we were in the pool when we noticed the kitchen light turn on. It was evening. We assumed her parents, so looked in the window to do something stupid to get their attention when we realized we do not know the individual in the house. We hid behind the wall of the pool, above ground, terrified until her parents finally came home. It appeared as though he got spooked as he only ransacked the kitchen and left the garage door wide open when fleeing. The lights turned off all at once while I was in the kitchen. It was pitch black. I heard the door open. For some reason, instead of thinking power outage, my brain went to someone has cut the power and is coming to kill me. I grabbed the landline, the knife, and was crouched behind the kitchen counter, hearing steps come through the house, trying to breathe as quietly as possible. Then I hear my mom go, "Hello? Anyone home?" The power went out by chance at the exact moment she came in the door. That would have been an awkward hospital trip. I was in my basement where the computer was playing some game, probably RuneScape, and heard someone pull into the driveway, naturally assuming it was my mother who was coming home from work. I heard the screen door open, but when no one opened the lock on the actual door, I started to go upstairs and I saw a pair of legs go by the window. While the basement was underground, there was about a foot that popped up above ground level and had 2 windows. I go upstairs and see 2 dudes in my backyard looking at the windows and talking about the door was locked. It was an attempted home robbery. We had been broken into a few times at that point and had everything locked, but 10-year-old me was terrified. My grandparents paid me to house sit for them and take care of their animals, 2 dogs, 2 goats and like 3 or 4 horses, for 2 weeks. One of the dogs was really clingy, so I closed the door on him when I went to bed one night. I woke up in the middle of the night, but I was too tired to move, but I saw a black figure with a white face standing right beside the bed. It was making this horrific growling noise and leaned into me and pressed down on my chest. It pressed harder and harder, and then I was able to move my fingers, and then I was eventually able to move my body, but after that, I let the dog sleep in the room and I slept with the lights on. That was the first time I experienced sleep paralysis, and thankfully the times after that one weren't freaky. When I was around 8 or 9, my mom commuted to a major city about an hour/hour and a half away, so I would bring myself home from school, about 100 meters away, lock the door and watch cartoons or play Neopets until she got home. We lived in apartment blocks, and one day one of the older male people in the apartment lost his wallet, and he figured it must have been me. Keep in mind, I've never stolen anything in my life or had any trouble with the law, and I had no clue what he was talking about. He came and banged on the door so aggressively that I jumped out of my skin, and was belligerent demanding I open the door. I rang Mom crying and she jumped on a train to come home, but she was an hour and a half away. She called some friends and they came and got me, and at that stage he had taken a break and gone back to his apartment, but left his dry cleaning there. When Mom got back, she stormed straight to his door and pounded on it like he had done to our door. He came to the door, all shocked, and she demanded to know why he thought it was appropriate to bang on the door for an hour to scare a little girl. He replied that he thought I stole his wallet. Mom asked him if he still thought I did, and he said no, I found it in the car park. She looked like she wanted to kill him, and forced him to apologize. Also, in that same apartment block, there was a hairline fracture on the sliding door that we didn't know about. A strong wind blew and shattered the entire window inwards. I was home alone then too. That was scary as fuck. Early teen years. Power went out while I was taking a shower late at night. I got out of the shower already freaked out and looked outside through the window. My house was the only one without power. Stupid teenage brain, this is clearly an attempt on my life reality. House had a weird problem where the power would cut out if the water heater and air conditioner happened to turn on the same time. It had never happened to me before that, but my dad assured me that was the problem once he finally came home. I was chilling in my bed with my dog watching TV and I hear a door shut downstairs. I look out the window of my sister's room cause she had a view of the garage, but the garage was empty. I grabbed a pocket knife and crept downstairs. I searched the basement as well as everywhere on the ground floor and found nothing. Went back to my room on edge for the next couple of hours until my family got home. Still don't know what happened, and it couldn't have been wind cause it was winter, so we had all the windows closed. Not that scary, but a door closing when you're home alone and not even 12 is a little spooky. My house came with an alarm that kept track of movement in every room. I set the alarm before bed, but I woke up in the middle of the night because it was alerting me that there was movement going back and forth between my guest bedroom, down the hall, and into my office. My alarm has a robotic speaking voice, so in the dark I'd hear it say, movement guest bedroom, movement second floor hallway, movement office, etc. I assume it was a glitch, and nothing to worry about, but I ended up turning that function off. I also heard human footsteps above me in my attic once, home alone while my wife was out of town. But I posted that one already months ago. It was spooky movie night at a friend's and we were 3 movies deep, just finished watching Dark Skies. I was hungry, so I was like alright getting my leftovers, so I went downstairs by myself. When I closed the fridge I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, and when I turned to see what it was, there was a ghostly white, skeletal thing just staring at me from outside the patio, with shimmering hazy lights pulsing behind it. I fucking freaked, dropped my food and run up the stairs nearly in tears, babbling about someone or thing in the backyard. Turns out it was just my own reflection mixed with the lights and steam from the hot tub outside, but I've never been so scared in my life. For me, I was 12 years old and my dad was at his girlfriend's house. I went into my room to take a shower. I always put a chair under the door handle in my room because it didn't have a lock. My grandma loved giving me porcelain dolls and she decorated my room with shelves that had porcelain dolls on them. All of the dolls were on their shelves before I got into the shower. When I exited my bathroom, one of the porcelain dolls was 10 feet across the room, face down on the ground. This doll must have flown across the room to have landed where it did. Also, the doll was not broken. Needless to say, my grandma was sad that all of the dolls were packed up and put in the attic for safekeeping. Not sure if this counts. Was working on a farm in northern CA. It was a startup and I was the only person, at nights, on an isolated 650 acres. After dinner, was walking from the lodge to my cabin, 100 yards plus, it's dark so all I can see is what my flashlight illuminates plus a little on the periphery of the main beam. Anyway, walking back and in the periphery I see red fucking eyes staring at me unblinkingly. I turn the light on it and all I see is a pale white mass behind the still red eyes. I freak, takes a little bit to get me jumpy but this sure as hell did. Picture a 6'5" 260 pounds man. Now picture him letting out an unbelievably high-pitched scream and straight sprinting into his cabin, 50 yards or so. The next day I was talking to one of the guys that come up to help out during the day, told him what happened and he about fell over laughing. I think the sincere terror in my voice as I described the pale monster really drove the funny nail home for him. Well, turns out there's such a thing as albino deer and just so happens one frequents this property. Nobody thought to warn me beforehand. Edit, punctuation. When I was younger my mom left me and my little brother home alone while she ran to the store. I was in middle school, so old enough to be left home safely for an hour, and my bro was only 2 years younger. Mom leaves and me and my brother are watching TV in the living room, and we see a bunch of smoke from the big bay window facing the front yard shortly after she leaves. We look, and a car has crashed into the ditch that is next to our driveway. I grab the phone and we go out on the porch. I call 911 and give them my address, then I call my grandma and tell her what happened. Cops and the whole emergency entourage gets there. I go talk to the cops. Mind you, we lived on a state route. It's a 2-lane road, so the entire section of road in front of my house is closed off. My mom rounds the corner of the side road to pull onto the STRT and sees a ton of cop cars in out driveway and shutting down the road, 2 fire trucks, at least 2 ambulances, and, as any mom seeing this, freaks out. Note about the road and our house: the road is significantly higher than the ditch, so it is entirely possible to miss the wrecked car. Especially when you know you left your kids home alone. They allow her to park in the neighbor's driveway since ours is currently occupied. And we see her sprinting across the yards. The cops intercept her. She sees that me and my brother are okay and is able to calm down enough to talk to the cops. TL, Dr. Car crashed in our front yard when I was left home alone. Gave mom a heart attack from all the emergency vehicles surrounding her house when she tried to drive down the road. Sitting in my parents' farmhouse reasonably deep into the Scottish Highlands, on a farm around 5 miles from the nearest, small, town overlooking a valley but on a small road that wasn't traveled on much. Anyway, totally alone, just chilling in the living room and something smashed into the window right beside me. I fucking shat myself. A huge crow, completely out of the blue, flew hard into the window. Double glazed so it didn't break but made a hell of a nice about 3 feet away from me. I was freaking out. How could a crow hit that window in the house, having not avoided the house altogether? I was on edge for hours afterwards. It survived and eventually kind of limped and eventually flew away. Just a random occurrence, but it gave me a serious fright all alone up there on a windy hill. Later on I could laugh as it left a perfect bird-shaped greasy mark on the window, like something out of a cartoon. Edits for spelling.